This is the overview for Kit 3, Theme B, Signs of Words from Greek, Part 1. This kit is really different, I think, from what we would normally be teaching in an elementary school classroom. As I went through it, thinking about myself working in a classroom and taking what is introduced here, which is, again, as a reminder, more of an adult introduction, not what you would sit down and do with students. I struggled, to be honest, to see potentially why or how I would work with this with kids. And it's one of those areas where I think the orthographic information is, of course, very sound and important, but it's bridging that idea we have and have had as practitioners about how we were taught and what's important for kids to know. So as I work through this and just talk you through the theme as it's presented, I think it's very important for grade level teachers and people that are watching this from afar to really think how you would apply this in your classroom. These overviews are never meant to be taught as presented. They're not presented for students. So you, again, always have to think about how this would work for your kids. So starting off, the big ideas of this theme are that they introduce you to the Greek alphabet and how to transcribe it into Latin, which we have adapted for English. To be honest, I did not work through a lot of the transcribe models here, but I did go ahead and introduce them, and that's what I'm talking about. You'll have to make some choices. This theme explains the graphemes that can signal a Greek origin from an element word. The fact that of a Greek origin usually signals a word as belonging to a higher or technical register of the language, the place of orthographic etymology in the writing system. Those components are important, I think, and are worth at least pointing out to students because many of the words that we do use for technology and that we do use for science come from Greek. If we're trying to spell those words or read those words, having an understanding, an orthographic understanding of where a word comes from, its etymological origins and its meaning, is of course, we know as real spellers, important. So to begin, we are looking at how English is made up of words from many different languages. It's Melvin's idea of the Old English soup, and this theme focuses specifically on words of Greek origin. Why is the fact that a word is a Greek origin important to learn and teach and investigate? This is what I would take away from this theme if I was presenting it to students, mainly that there are words out there that we're going to come across that are scientific or academic or technological in essence that are from Greek, and by knowing where they're from, we can more quickly adhere to their meaning or determine their spelling. Interestingly, the word alphabet is itself a Greek word. Alpha and beta, or B-E-T, plus the A there on the ending as an affix, were the first two letters of the Greek alphabet. That's a very interesting way, of course, to launch this theme. The main theme, and this is the part that I said I'm not really sure how I would present this to students other than it is interesting, is that the Greek alphabet presented there as an upper and lowercase system was also transcribed into Latin, which is what we normally use today. Jumping right into what students may be familiar with if they've been working with real spelling, there are parts of words, there are identifiers for us, graphemes, which we can pick out, which often lead us to know that the word is Greek. The first one, of course, is when we write the digraph PH for the sound F. Melvin provided some information about how to separate PH words, words with the PH digraph, into categories, and some of those categories would throw your students into using the etymological dictionary to determine if the word presented is of Greek origin. And that's an interesting place, I think, to begin talking about the importance of origin. The orthographic phonology of the digraph CH. We have several ways, of course, to pronounce the CH digraph. We have the ch as in chip. We have sh, which is mostly French, as in chef and brochure, and we have the k sound, which you find in Greek words, words of Greek origin. The best known, of course, would probably be echo. The study task that Melvin suggests in order to learn which words are Greek is to take words that have a CH digraph and to sort them into words that have these sounds, and then to verify these different, where the digraph represents these different phonologies, and then to verify which of these words, when you look them up in the etymological dictionary, are of Greek origin. So the idea with this theme, my idea anyway, if I was presenting this to students, would be to begin making lists and groups of words, either in student notebooks, letting kids really do the work, or on my teacher chart, my bulletin boards, listing words which have the CH digraph and are obviously Greek. So there's a fun fact here, and that is there a reason for the abbreviated spelling of the word Christmas as XMAS? And that can be answered by studying the Greek word for Christ. I've written it there as best I can. I don't really write Greek, but the Greek letter for the CH that we have for K, of course, is X in Greek, the actual Greek alphabet letter. So therefore, really, the abbreviation was etymologically, or its origin was soundly in Greek, and potentially, instead of saying Xmas, as I sometimes do, we should still be calling that Christmas because of the K sound. The orthographic phonology of the grapheme Y, this is also very interesting. Y can have different sounds as presented here, including the sound Y as in yes. It depends on where it is presented in a word. If it's presented medially in a word, it's almost always of Greek origin. And there are some examples provided on the server where you can have students break these down into morphemes and sentences, word sums, sorry. And of course, one of the best examples of a Greek word with a Y in its medial position is the word the base psych. Physical is listed, typical is listed. It would be interesting for students to analyze these, figure out where the Y is, and then of course take the step further to find out whether they were Greek. The orthographic phonology of the grapheme X, we've studied this in another kit, but of course it makes the X sound medially and finally, and the Z sound in words of Greek origin, like xylophone. Graphemes that can signal Greek origin, there are more than PH, but it's one of the most well-known. There are also RH, PN, PS, and PT. However, those graphemes mainly are found in initial position. There are also many affixes. I'm not going to read all of these that are Greek in origin. It's interesting for students to begin looking at this. There's a lot of Greek words in our alphabet, in our English alphabet. And if you look at some of these affixes, they are often words that have to do with math or technology or science. And that comes back to the idea that normally is when we're going to find words of Greek origin based on meaning, as they come from those disciplines. There are other items, the Greek connecting vowel O in the word philosophy. It's often there. It does nothing more than to connect a base with a prefix, and it's very Greek in origin, as well as the syllabic suffix E, which is actually pronounced in catastrophe. It's I'm trying not to say single silent because it's not silent. It's a single E positioned in the final position in a word that actually has a sound of the letter E. Those words that have an E on the end, pronounced E, are often of Greek origin. So if you were to put all of this together, and this is certainly the recommendation for Melvin, it's the idea that we use graphemic signs, and we do this as real spellers, the ones that were reviewed here. Graphemic signs, graphemes, digraphs, we look at position in a word to help indicate to us that this word may be of Greek origin. And there is in the final or end of this kit, there is a sheet you could hand out to students with many, many words, and the goal is for them to take everything they've known and to go on an investigative hunt as to whether or not these words are of Greek origin. They potentially could first say, based on what they know from these graphemic signs, that yes, this might possibly be a Greek word, and then dive into a dictionary to affirm through the origin information as to whether or not it comes from Greek. Once again, I think that this is a very interesting theme for elementary students to be working on, and it's of course leading back to the idea that real spelling is so much more than spelling. Real spelling is about critical thinking. It's about building vocabularies and doing inquiry, asking questions, and deriving an understanding that is so much greater than simple memorization.